Alright, 7th graders, I want to talk to you about adding integers using some different strategies other than when the signs are the same you add and when the signs are different you subtract the absolute values. These visual strategies may help you more fully understand the concept, so I may ask you to use these on a test or a quiz just to show that you understand physically what's happening, not just that you can memorize what I've told you is happening. So, find -4 plus -2. In this case, if we wanted to use a number line, we could. There is also a concept called hills and holes that I like to use with students because I think it makes a really nice picture. So, on the number line, if you're at -4, and you're adding, so we're here, and we're adding -2, we're adding 2 more negatives, and we end up at -6. So let's see what that looks like using hills and holes. I think a number line is pretty self-explanatory. Hills and holes, so hills would be positives and holes would be negatives. And when I'm looking, so here's the ground. This is 0. And if I just draw a 0, you can see there's one hill and one hole, and they cancel each other out, and they make a 0. So one positive and one negative cancel each other out to create a 0 pair. So if I put on 4 negatives, or 4 holes, and add 2 more holes, I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes. So again, I can see that my answer is correct. So let's try -3 plus -2. If I start at -3 and I add 2 more negatives, I end up at -5. And if I have 3 holes and 2 more holes, I also end up at -5. So I know that my answer is correct. On the next one, if I'm starting at 1, on my number line, and I'm adding 6 to it, I end up at 7. And if I do hills and holes, I have 1 positive, add 6 positives, and I have 7 positives again. Go ahead and show -5 plus -4 on your paper as part of your homework assignment. And we'll turn to the next page, or the bottom of this page. Alright, so to add integers with the same sign, add their absolute value. And give the result the same sign as the integers. So, for example, if the absolute value of 7 is 7, the absolute value of negative 3 is 3, so if I add those, I get 10, and the result gets the same sign. So since they're both negative, the result has to be negative as well. 5 plus 4 is 9. Negative 21 plus negative 5 is negative 26. And you go ahead and try those next three. And then turn your paper over. Adding integers with different signs gets a little bit trickier. So 5 plus negative 2. If I start at 5, here I am at 5, and I'm going to add 2 negatives to it, so I've ended up at 3. But I think even better than the number line, Hills and Holes shows us that if I have 5, and I'm adding on 2 negatives, I have 0, 0, 3 positives, 1, 2, 3. So I know that my answer is correct. Alright, I'm going to just do Hills and Holes for a little bit. Negative 4 plus 3, so I have 4 negatives, and 3 positives, a 0, a 0, a 0, and then I have 1 negative left over. Which is what we would expect, because we know that when we have different signs being added together, we subtract them. 4 minus 3 is 1, and the answer is the one with the bigger absolute value. So this one, in this case, the 4 is negative, it's the bigger absolute value, and so we give it a negative answer. 7 plus negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Add 5 negatives on there. All these 0 pairs cancel each other out. And I have 2 left over. 2 positives, 2 hills. Try negative 6 plus 4 and negative 1 plus 8. You may use either Hills and Holes or the number line, but you have to show them using one or the other so that I can see that you know how to use Hills and Holes or the number line to solve. And finally, to add integers with different signs, subtract their absolute value. Give the result the same sign as the integer. So negative 20 plus 4 we subtract and get 16. 20 is bigger, so my answer is negative. 17 plus negative 6. I subtract, I get 11. 17 minus 6 is 11. The positive is bigger, so my answer is positive. Negative 8 plus 27. If I subtract 27 minus 8, I get 19. The positive is bigger, so my answer is positive. I'm going to skip down to this one. 11 plus negative 3. I would cut the problem off there. Subtract those two. 11 minus 3 is 8. And the 8 would be positive because the 11 is bigger. And then I just bring down what's left. 8 plus 9 is 17. Just a regular old problem. So go ahead and try those 5 problems for homework as well. Don't forget to show your hills and holes on the problems above. You do not have to show them on the ones at the bottom. And have a great night.